The most fatal mistake that will hurt your application is not starting with your best. You must start with your most perfect conducting from the very beginning of your video. You do not need to submit a video of the entire movement or an entire piece if the beginning is not great. Remember that we only have one chance to make the first impression. This is your chance to make the best conducting first impression. You can start the clip in the middle of a movement, in the middle of a section, or even in the middle of a phrase. It doesn't need to make musical sense. Hey there, welcome to the Conductor's podcast. I'm your host, Chao Wen-ting, a conductor with over 20 years of experience working with professional symphony orchestras, opera houses, new music groups, and vocalists. I'm also founder of Girls Who Conduct and have mentored hundreds of conductors from across the globe. I created the Conductor's podcast to share all the behind-the-scenes secrets with you while I interview conductors, musicians, and business gurus from around the world. This is a space created for conductors, conducting students, musicians, and non-musicians who are curious and interested in learning more about the profession, craft, industry, and business. Shy away from the real talk? No way. Money, hardship, growth, and the roller coaster of a conducting career are all topics we discuss here. I will give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you take action on your big dream, move through the fear that's holding you back, and have a real impact. Now, pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. Hey there! Welcome to the very first episode of the Conductor's Podcast. I'm your host, Chao Wen-ting, and I'm thrilled that you're tuning in today. Raise your hand if you've ever put the time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears into recording, curating, and editing your conducting videos. You submit them to every single application that you can possibly find, from schools to training programs to jobs, only to never advance in the process. Sometimes your YouTube statistics even tell you that people only watch a few seconds of your videos, and you have no idea what you're doing wrong. I know how frustrating it is when you have worked so hard and you feel as though you're just not getting anywhere closer to where you want to be. But what if there's a checklist for you to go through when making your videos that would actually help you get it right in a professional manner and transform your application package? In this very first episode of our podcast, I'm going to talk about the 5 mistakes to avoid in your conducting videos. This will answer the question I get asked the most. People often do not get feedback on their video submissions and are eager to find out how to better improve their materials. Before we dive in, I wanted to talk a little bit about the selection process in general. Usually, for any conducting job opening in the professional world, the organization might easily receive over 100 applications. When I attended a masterclass with Maestro Haitink as part of the Luton Festival, they received 290 applications that year for that particular masterclass. Depending on the organization and the number of applications, there could be several rounds of selection in the process. Reviewers could be the same people analyzing your materials in all rounds, like a search committee. Or in a bigger organization, they might have a separate preliminary committee shortlisting applicants before the materials are reviewed by the final selection committee. Take the example of the masterclass with Maestro Haitink. They had a selection committee consisting of conducting teachers from other institutions, and they shortlisted all 290 applicants into around 23 conductors. All of us were invited to audition live in Luton before the festival started. This is unusual, as normally people do not invite so many conductors to live auditions, which is something we will talk about more later. However, Maestro Hightank really wanted to see these conductors live and to make the final decisions based on their conducting performances rather than watching videos. For that audition, we had to prepare Mozart's Symphony No. 39, all movement, and the process took a whole day, from 10 a.m. in the morning to almost 6 o'clock in the evening. Afterwards, Maestro announced 8 conductors selected into the masterclass as active participants, while everyone else was invited to stay in Luton and audit. Another example, I recently took an audition as a finalist for an assistant conductor position, and I was told that there were 4 rounds of selection before the 4 of us were invited to audition live. During the 4 rounds, the only thing we did, in addition to submitting the initial application package, was a quick phone call with the executive director. Another recent audition I had included a 30-minute Zoom session with the entire search committee of around 6 people. So you could see that the selection process varies, but you must pass the first round of what I called paper review, meaning standing out among applicants only with your materials, including the cover letter, resume, and videos. Very often, you will be asked to provide 2 contrasting videos for an application, which could be a total of hundreds of footage for the review committee to watch. Therefore, you want to make sure that your materials are as strong and professional as possible, helping you to quickly stand out in the first preliminary round and to get your materials reviewed a second time. In other words, you want to stay in that maybe or yes pile from the very beginning. It will really help your application if you have a handful of good conducting videos that you can mix and match, including standard repertoire, concerto, or any type of accompanimental material to contemporary music. You can then submit the 2 that will interest your potential employer or program coordinator the most based on their artistic vision and needs. For example, you might want to include one example of you conducting a composer reading or a world premiere when you are applying for a contemporary music festival. If you are applying for a fellowship with an opera house, it's useful to have some materials showing your work with singers or conducting an opera excerpt. 2 contrasting movements from the same symphony are always considered 2 contrasting videos. So if you're thinking about getting a few friends together to record, that could be an option to organize your recording session more effectively. When I just started out in my conducting studies, video recordings were not always part of the application requirements. I remember that there were a few schools that would invite everyone to a 2 or 3 round audition process where you had to pass a series of tests ranging from music theory, history, ear training, analysis, orchestration, or even score reading on a piano until you finally had the chance to conduct an ensemble. We all know that nuances get lost in recordings, and it's always the best to observe someone conducting live musicians. However, video submissions do make applications more affordable, and it can save travel expenses from attending live auditions across the country or even across the globe. It also gives the organization a chance to make sure that you have a certain conducting ability, or that you are at a certain level that they are looking for, or even get to know your personality a little bit before they decide if they want to extend an invitation for a live audition. Okay, before we get started, there are 2 things that I need to confess with you. First and foremost, your conducting needs to be good. We will be talking about strategies to make your materials more professional, increasing your chance to be noticed and reviewed with more care and consideration. But if the conducting is not at the right level for the program or the job, even having the most professionally produced footage might not help you win the spot. Secondly, we have to lay the groundwork and make it clear that conducting videos are not always the most important factor of whether you are advanced to the next round or eventually get hired. But the videos are still really important. It is almost always a part of the application requirement, from fellowship programs to graduate studies, from competition entries to job applications. And this is one thing that you have control over. So, if you've been multicasting, come back to me because we are going to start with the 5 mistakes to avoid in your conducting videos, especially when you are just starting out. Make sure you are listening all the way till the end because I have a bonus waiting for you. Ready? Mistake number 1. You submitted a recording of you conducting alone to a recording. Yes, COVID made it almost impossible for the majority of conductors to have regular rehearsals and access to live musicians and ensembles. However, you never want to submit a video of you conducting alone to a recording. Never, ever. When you are waving your arms to someone else's performance, you are not really conducting, but demonstrating some choreography with the music. You are not leading or influencing the music making. You did not set the tempo, and it was not your musical interpretation. The players did not perform and respond to your gestures or your presence, and there was no interaction with the ensemble. Additionally, when people find out that you submitted a video conducting to a recording, it really hurts your credibility. Remember that in any selection process, the committee very easily has over hundreds of videos to review. It is okay not to be remembered, but you do not want to be remembered as someone who made a huge mistake. Mistake number 2. The video was shot from the audience, only showing your back. When you submit a video that has been shot from the hall, facing your back instead of your face, the video is basically useless in the selection process. If we only see your backside, we lose the majority of conducting markers required for evaluation. We cannot see how you connect with the musicians, your conducting techniques, your knowledge of the score, and how the ensemble responded to you. This angle does not serve you well at all, even if there is great music happening in the video. I know that this can be difficult as an audience perspective video might be the only one that you have, taken either by friends in the audience or the organization itself for marketing purposes. Therefore, you want to get in the habit of always recording yourself when possible from the back of the ensemble. You can use your smartphone with a phone mount set on a stand or a tripod, or invest in a small palm-sized camcorder that can capture the entire rehearsal or performance without having to worry about the memory or battery. Make sure you film yourself as often as possible, and over time, you will have more footage than needed to choose from. We will talk about the audio quality very soon in the following tips, but you wanted to pay attention to the audio quality being picked up by the camera microphone. Mistake number 3. You have a video showing your front, but we can't see you clearly. A good rule of thumb is to frame your video so that your conducting occupies about 3/4 of the image. We can clearly see you from your waist up to above your head. When you set your camera, stand in the middle of the frame and wave your arms above and around your body to ensure that your hands are never out of the frame. We also want to see a little bit of the musicians to know that you are really working with a live ensemble. However, you need to be the main subject that we are seeing, from your facial expression to your body gestures. If you're recording from your mobile device, try to find a trustworthy friend to start the camera for you so you can be framed properly. Record horizontally or landscape instead of vertically. When committees are watching hundreds of videos, they are more likely to use their computer than to view. So when you film it vertically or portrait, your conducting is very small to see. Mistake number 4, and also the most fatal mistake that will hurt your application, is not starting with your best. You must start with your most perfect conducting from the very beginning of your video. You do not need to submit a video of the entire movement or an entire piece if the beginning is not great. You should cut the video so that the first moment we see you conducting is your very best. This makes the viewer want to continue watching and to find out more about you. Remember that we only have one chance to make the first impression. This is your chance to make the best conducting first impression. You can start the clip in the middle of a movement, in the middle of a section, or even in the middle of a phrase. It doesn't need to make musical sense. Do not show something that didn't work and that you fix it later, because reviewers often won't watch until that point when everything is fixed. If the footage was taken from a workshop or an educational setting, make sure that you cut out all that part when the teachers or clinicians are speaking to you, making comments to the ensemble, or even giving you instructions like, "That was better, try it again." Cut out everything less than perfect, or that might make you look unprofessional. You are probably curious, how long do people really watch the videos? Let me tell you, the average duration of video viewership is around 40 seconds. Yes, you heard it right, about 40 seconds, 40. After that, they might have gotten enough of you and move on to the next candidate, or they might have grown interested in you and want to watch a little longer or to check out your other videos. Because of this brevity, you want to ensure that your strongest video is first when you submit multiple videos. If you're not sure which one is better, there are 2 ways that you can examine your videos. The first is to watch your videos muted and see if you can identify which piece, which section, or which passage you are connecting. See if you can sense which instrument you are connecting with, what key that was in, and what style the music was in. Don't forget to also check the basics. Was your tempo steady and consistent? Did you miss any important entrances? And were your beat pattern clear? The second thing that you can do to help you pick your conducting video is to ask friends that you trust to watch them for you. It's always nice to get a fresh set of eyes on our work, especially after we spent so many hours editing the recordings. A lot of times, others will see things that we have missed and could have very different opinions on a particular video that you love or dislike. The last mistake that could really hurt your application is that you do not have good video quality to your videos. Never use the microphone on the camera. Because of the placement of the camera, which should be at the back of the ensemble, very often the full symphony sound becomes a horn concerto, or we can only hear the back of the string sections who are not your strongest players. If you can save and invest in a good audio recorder that could be placed out in the hall, that would be the best. When you add it to your video, simply synchronize it with the image. Otherwise, just record audio from your phone in the audience or by the podium might be better than the microphone that came with your camera. You should know that when the selection committee quickly skims through videos, a recording with very good audio quality and sound immediately capture viewers' ears and prompt them to examine you more closely. This will help them be more interested in learning more about you as a candidate. In pre-COVID times, this practice unfortunately made conducting a really expensive profession to enter. Many conductors would attend master classes or music festivals to have the opportunity to work with professional orchestras in other countries in order to obtain footage. COVID has changed a lot of this, and organizations in general are understanding and more willing to accept videos of an orchestral repertoire played by, say, a piano quintet, for example. However, the level of playing should be as high as possible, so you are not disadvantaged in the selection process. Overwhelmed? Don't be. I know this is a lot of information if you are less familiar with the selection process. But remember, you can always subscribe to the podcast and download the episode. You can also find all information in the show note. Go to chaowenting.com/1. That is chaowenting.com/1 to find everything in words. So here you go, my friends. The 5 mistakes to avoid in your conducting videos, especially when you are just starting your career. Number 1, you are conducting alone to recordings. Never ever submit video footage of you are conducting someone else's recording. Try to find a couple of friends to play for you if you really need conducting videos. Even 2 pianists or a string quartet will be much better than waving your arms alongside Bernstein conducting the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. Number 2, always record your rehearsals and performances from the back of the ensemble. Over time, you will be able to select a short clip that best represents your conducting and musicality. Number 3, don't submit a video where you are too far away or too close up. Make sure we can see your body from the waist up and keep your arms in frame when you conduct. If you're not wearing a mask, seeing your facial expressions clearly is important. Number 4, always put your strongest video as the first choice, and always start with your best conducting. Remember, it doesn't have to make musical sense, and you can start in the middle of a passage. Number 5, and one that will disadvantage you in the selection process. The audio quality of your footage is not good. If the venue provides audio recording from the hall, always request access to that recording. Otherwise, you could invest in a good audio recorder to place in the audience, or even use your phone to record by the podium. Now, the bonus I promised, a rapid-fire round of questions about everything videos. Question number 1, what device do you use or recommend for recording? I actually don't have fancy equipment and have been using a Panasonic or a Canon palm-sized camcorder that I got from Costco years ago to record. I heard great things about Sony camcorders too. I also have a few recent footage recorded on my phone, which was okay, but mostly I would just use the video that I was provided by the workshop or masterclass organizer because they tend to have better audio quality. Question number 2. When sending out an application, should I send separate videos or one video with several excerpts like a highlight reel? This really is personal preference. When I was on the review committee, I liked having separate links for each excerpt. So if I've gotten enough information, I can quickly move to another one. However, I have friends loving just one video with all the excerpt so they don't have to open hundreds of links at once. Question number 3. What program do you use to edit videos? Actually, anything that's free on my laptop. I've used Microsoft Movie Maker, iMovie on a MacBook, or Adobe Premium. You really don't need a fancy program. All you need is a cover or title showing the repertoire and the ensemble, and to trim the video to start right at your best. Question number 4. I'm always nervous or busy leading up to my own conducting when I have a chance. So I feel overwhelmed that I have to get the equipment ready, to set the camera right, and to record the audio in the hall. What should I do? Well, like everything else in life, prepare in advance. You want to always get to the rehearsal room or the concert hall early to set things up in advance. If you can afford it, having multiple devices to be safe. For important performances, I will have 2 cameras to record, or sometimes my machine in addition to the one the organization is providing, if possible. If you don't or can't have multiple devices, don't stress out. There are always others you can get help from. Asking fellow conductors at a workshop to help you set things up, or even record on their machine is not uncommon. Of course, you want to ask nicely and after you get to know that person a little bit, not when you just first met each other. If I were at a workshop and knew the order of conducting, I often set things up and hit recording button when the previous conductor was still on the podium, so I can make sure that the angle and the frame is the way I like. You can always edit the previous person out. I put everything in one bag so I can just grab it on my way to rehearsal or concert. I got some string bags or pouches of various sizes from dollar stores for the cords and power to stay organized. Oh, and always bring an extension cord when you can. Extra SD cards and an adapter if you're traveling to foreign countries, as you never know when you need them. So there, you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you are just starting out, I hope you now know where you need to focus. Go out there, get it done. I'm telling you, it's a game changer for sure. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you are just starting out, I hope you now know where you need to focus. Go out there, get it done. I'm telling you, it's a game changer for sure. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And before I forget, have you subscribed to my podcast yet? I don't want you to miss anything. And if you subscribe to the podcast, you will be notified each time I have a new episode. Thanks again for tuning in. I will see you here at the same time, same place next week. Bye for now.